Hello.
So, hello, shalom
Hello.
from Kazakhstan.
Shalom from Jerusalem. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say that it's great honor for me taking part in this activity. Talking Peace is a very important project. As we say, we can say there's a big marathon, information marathon, and we really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
That's great. If you don't mind, I would like to start, due to lack of time, I would like to start with my interview.
Go ahead.
Actually, the Abraham Accords is a historical milestone in the relationship of Israel and the Arab world. Would you please tell us about the efforts and what was the basis for such a document, please?
I think that the effort started back in the 70s with the peace agreement with Jordan and with Egypt, and a few years later with the peace agreement with Jordan. Since day one, since the creation of Israel, Israel was looking for peaceful relations with all our neighbors, and this peace process started in the 70s is actually the basis, the pillar of the accords that were signed over the last year. In the last 2 decades, Israel had relations and talks with the UAE and Bahrain. We were talking with them. We were trying to find ways of connections with them, both on the economic level, but also on a political level and people to people. One of the efforts that we made is more worth mentioning is the work of the digital diplomacy department of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A few years ago, about 6 years ago, we started creating accounts in Arabic so we can talk directly with the people of our neighboring countries. And we have created a dialogue with a lot of people there that are interested in what's going on in Israel, and they want to hear it directly from us. And without a doubt, this dialogue is part of the infrastructure that led the politicians towards choosing the path of peace. And this is and we saw that in the day that was the Abraham Accords were announced, that people from the UAE, people from the region celebrated with us, with Israel, the peace agreement, and that and it was definitely a sign for other countries as well to see that there's a change. Israel is no longer considered to be an enemy, but is considered to be a partner, and the peace is beneficial not only for Israel, but to the entire region.
Thank you so much. Yes, no doubt that this is a very important historical step, and definitely no one can be measured in total isolation of his predecessors. That is why the previous steps are very important. Thank you. Let's talk about the economical issue. What is the predictable economical effect from the further implementation of the fundamental basics of the accord, of the Abraham Accord?
First of all, I don't think it's only the future. We already live the reality of a huge change in the trade between us and the countries that signed the peace and normalization accords with us. I have the numbers here that shown only with the UAE. There's in the first half of 2021, we have reached a trade of over $600 million in bilateral trade, and if you compare it to a year ago, it was only $50 million. It's 12 times higher. And this is in a year that was dominated by the COVID crisis. That was a huge obstacle, not only for traveling, but also for to trade and economical connections. I think that what our goal is here in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but I think it's the Israeli government and the government of the other countries we sign agreement with, is that these agreements won't just stay on a leadership level just by politicians, but also will reach and affect the lives of each and every citizen on a positive level. It will make the quality of life in Israel and in those countries better, and it will definitely make or create a second round of effect, a second circle of effect in other countries that are not part of the Abraham Accords. Those are countries in the region, but also countries in Europe, in Asia, that will benefit from the connection between Israel and the UAE. And the other countries as well.
Thank you so much. As the new step and the new level, a new circle, I would like to ask you a couple of questions about the social cultural development. So how do you assess the contribution of the Accords to the social and cultural development of relations between Israel and the Arab world? Maybe not only the Arab world, on the Europe and the Middle East and the Central Asia place.
That's a great question, because I think that those accords will change the way that the entire Middle East looks at Israel. And we've seen it in surveys that we've made in different countries that we've signed agreements with and countries that we haven't signed agreements with yet, that Israel is no longer seen as an enemy. Israel is seen as a partner, and the benefits of having relations with Israel is being understood not only in the political level, but also in the public opinion. And this is a huge change, seeing Israelis and Arabs negotiating together, sitting together, visiting one another, will create those meeting points for other countries to join. And I know for a fact that other leaders are looking at the relationship between Israel and the UAE, Israel and Bahrain, Israel and Morocco, in order to assess the right time to take that strategic decision towards peace. And the better the relationship between Israel and the peace party countries will be, the better the chances are that other countries in the Middle East and in the Muslim world will join the circle of peace. And that's why we do think that it's important, the international community support for those agreements.
Oh, thank you so much. And my last question is about the whole world issue. What should the whole world pay attention for in the Abraham Accords? What is the most important part from your point of view?
I think that the change in the reality in the Middle East is important. And this is a thing that the international community should be very attentive to, because we've created a new Middle East, a Middle East with leaders, brave leaders, that chose a better future for their people, for the next generation. This is why we bring the word of peace to the entire world, including with this project that we're doing today, because it's important for peace to be seen and to be heard and to be supported. And it's important for people in Israel to know the benefits of peace, to people in the UAE and Bahrain and Morocco to understand the benefits of peace. But moreover, it's important for people in Kazakhstan to understand that there is a new reality.
Thank you, and we'll do our best to spread the word all over the Kazakhstan, and we know that this issue is very important, especially for our Kazakhstani people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and shalom from Jerusalem. And we are moving to Tanzania, Africa.